The journey to Syria starts with a brisk walk through olive groves.
That's how you get into Syria, through a hole in the fence.
This is a country of rich rolling farmland that's in open revolt. In many towns, the rebels are now in complete control. In one village, a rebel occupies the desk where the police chief used to sit.
The rebels claim they forced out the security officers from this police station nearly 2 months ago, and since then they've been using it as a mini barracks for sleeping quarters. They've also been storing aid, bags of clothing that have been donated from across the border in Turkey, some of which are being stored here in the prison cell.
It's here that we meet Fatima, a homeless mother in mourning. She says 3 of her sons were killed in recent months while defending their village from the Syrian army. A surviving son, Basim, was shot through the leg. The family's now homeless. Soldiers torched our house, Fatima says, and even shot our livestock. But the Syrian government's vicious crackdown has done little to crush the local spirit of defiance. At school, children burst into songs denouncing their president, even though his government still pays for their school books.
Classes are still in session here at schools in opposition-controlled Syria. And in a bizarre twist, the teachers here, who are afraid to appear on camera for their own safety, they tell us that despite the uprising and all the fighting, they still get their salaries every month from the Syrian government.
On a country road, we find a band of Syrian rebels making a show of force. Many of these fighters from the so-called Free Syrian Army are defectors from the Syrian security forces.
We want freedom. Our blood's not expensive for this sky, for this floor, for this mountain, for these trees, for our freedom. Our blood is cheap.
The fighters have a prisoner, a 19-year-old boy they say they intercepted as he was on his way to perform his mandatory military service. And the commander shows the documents to prove it. The prisoner gets an ultimatum. If you want your freedom, defect. The boy renounces the government and agrees to join the rebels. The newest, not-so-voluntary rebel recruit in a conflict that has no end in sight.
And Ivan Watson joins me now. You know, during the revolution in Egypt, in Tahrir Square, we saw a lot of different kinds of people, and the Muslim Brotherhood kind of played a smaller role. In the wake of that, they've now come more into power. And so a lot of people now say, well, look, who are these fighters, and are there really jihadists behind them or who are going to come into power if they succeed?
The guys I've seen on my trips in have tended to be community groups who've risen up, university students, a lot of defected soldiers and police. However, I am starting to hear from activists, from the people who started the protests from the very beginning, concerns that they're starting to see armed guys, criminals, they describe them, and some of them saying we're starting to see guys with beards who are questioning our religiosity. And that wasn't what we signed up for 14 months ago. That's a growing concern for some activists I'm talking to.